Good evening and welcome to the commemorative area of the Australian War Memorial for this special last post ceremony. My name is Tristan Rallings. Shortly, a current serving member of the Australian Defence Force will read tonight's story. We would like to acknowledge the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who continue to watch the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record, which they themselves made. Now, we will hear the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of the more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century.
Good evening. My name is Warrant Officer Class 1 Joanne Davey and I am currently serving in the Australian Army. Today we remember and pay tribute to Lance Corporal Edward Roberts. Edward Roberts was born in 1880. The eldest son of Thomas and Ellen Roberts of Bendigo in Victoria. After school, Roberts worked in one of the area's gold mines until finding similar work on the Kalgoorlie goldfields in Western Australia, where he lived in the years before the war. There he also paraded part-time with the local militia, the Goldfields Infantry Regiment. Roberts enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in November 1914. After a period of training at the Black Boy Hill training camp, he embarked for Egypt with a reinforcement group for the 11th Battalion. Roberts spent the following months training at Mena Camp near Cairo, before landing on Gallipoli 3 days after his battalion had come ashore. Roberts participated in the major actions fought by the battalion on the peninsula until an ulcer on his eye led to his evacuation to Egypt for a period in hospital. Roberts rejoined the battalion on Lemnos in November, after which it evacuated from Gallipoli and returned to Egypt. The 11th Battalion spent the following months training in Egypt, while the AIF underwent a period of major reorganisation in preparation for the fighting on the Western Front. Roberts was transferred to the newly raised 51st Battalion, sailing for France with his new battalion in June 1916. The 51st Battalion entered the line for the first time near the town of Armentières on the Franco-Belgian border, where it patrolled no man's land at night and conducted trench raids on the German positions. In July 1916, Australian troops of the 4th Division, which included the men of the 51st Battalion, moved south to take part in the British offensive then raging on the Somme. The battalion's first major action was at Pozières on the 4th of August 1916, where it repelled a German counterattack from recently captured positions east of the village. Soon after, the focus of Australian operations in the Pozières sector shifted several hundred metres north towards Mouquet Farm, where the Australians carried out a series of attacks in an effort to gain ground. Roberts had by this stage been promoted to Lance Corporal. Roberts was listed as missing in action following the Australians' final assault on Mouquet Farm on the 3rd of September 1916. Small numbers of men from the 51st Battalion had succeeded in fighting their way into the network of underground cellars beneath Mouquet Farm, where they became locked in a fierce bombing duel with German troops. Nobody knew what had become of him after that action, and the Red Cross received no news that he had been taken prisoner of war. Roberts remained missing until a court of inquiry determined that he had been killed in action in the bitter fighting on the 3rd of September. His body was never recovered from the battlefield, and today his name is listed on the Australian National Memorial at Villers-Bretonneux, alongside over 10,030 Australians killed in France who have no known grave. His family inserted a small memorial notice in the local newspaper after receiving the news Robert had been killed. It read simply, "His duty nobly done." Edward Roberts was 36 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Lance Corporal Edward Roberts, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world. They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning we will remember them. Lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, They will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for watching and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.